So I thought to myself, A, I never want to get into sales, and B, I never want to own a business, because those two things I watched were riddled with failure. I was not handed anything. I worked for every dollar I ever earned. I never was entitled or felt entitled or acted entitled. I realized that entrepreneurship wasn't as ugly as I thought I had portrayed it to be. Someone has this great idea that they're really good at something. So they say, I'm really good at this, so I'm just going to go out and get clients. Well, most people don't hire a company or an individual based on that alone. And the only reason why I know I am is because every business I've ever built or helped another business owner build was built on those first. That is crucial. You cannot start creating income unless you have some type. And here's the other thing we have to remember, especially if you're in the type of business, I'm talking strictly service-based. If you're
Welcome back to our show, Empower Your Life with Cindy Marie. This is the show where we focus on expressing, not impressing, helping you to guide on focusing and unlock your full potential, creating the life that you deserve and be unstoppable. Today's guest is someone who embodies unstoppable energy and success. She is a serial entrepreneur, an award business advisor, and also the driving force behind countless successful brands. As the founder of Leap for Ladies and the Empower and Elevate conference, she has empowered thousands of women to launch, to lead, and level up their lives and businesses. Get ready though, because you might get challenged with how you see the success. With this episode, we're going to dive deeper into the most underrated strategies for coaches and entrepreneurs to succeed. So let's all give a warm welcome to our next guest, Colleen Biggs. Colleen, welcome and thank you so much for being here with us today.
Hey, Cindy, I'm so glad to be on your show. Thank you for having me. I'm certainly honored, and I'm ready to do this today.
Yes, we are both unstoppable energy. So
Heck yeah.
Before we dive into anything spicy questions or exciting questions, how are you doing today?
I'm amazing. I think we don't talk about the times in our lives that are challenging when we sell a business or when things are, there's a lot of ebbs and flows in businesses. And so I'm just coming out of a huge pivot and a change and the sale of a business. And so I had to work through my emotions and the challenges that came with that. And so I think that creates even more strength. It creates another side of us that we didn't know existed because we get pushed out of our comfort zone into another zone when we're growing in another area. And a lot of us don't like change. And so when that happens, I think we build resilience. So I'm on the other side of that today. But if you would have asked me 2.5 weeks ago, I might have shed a tear in the middle of that question to say, like, I don't know if I'm doing okay today, Cindy. I've been struggling. So I think we need to realize that that's part of life as an entrepreneur. And I'm actually thankful for these times because going through it sucks so bad. But being on the other side of it and looking back, hindsight, it's just, I'm thankful for those times.
I love it. I love it. Well, I'm glad I asked you, how are you doing today? Because definitely the conversations kind of like pick up because this is where I think it's the most important part of every conversation is to understand how you actually ended up where you are right now, how you build your resilience, as what you said earlier. And Colleen, we have a tradition here because I love to hear our guests' humble beginnings, your unique stories, how you end up where you are right now, how you build that resilience, how you become a powerhouse you are today. a business owner, an entrepreneur, a business advisor, a coach, all of this keynote speaker, podcast host, and many more hats. So share with us your humble beginnings or your story.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to the beginning on this one because I think our stories really begin when we're born and we're in our families and we're being raised, because all of the beliefs that are ingrained in us for who we are today, if we think we can be resilient, if we think we can be successful outside of corporate America, if we think that we can do it, all of these things are pieces of what is built from the time we are born and how our parents raise us. It's how our environment is when we're growing up. Mine felt very unsafe. My father was an entrepreneur. I watched him start businesses and fail over and over again. I watched him have jobs and get fired and get another job and get fired. I just watched this my whole life. And I thought to myself, he was a salesman. So I thought to myself, A, I never want to get into sales, and B, I never want to own a business, because those two things I watched were riddled with failure. And as I grew up, and left the house at a very early age and became very self-sufficient, I realized that I wanted to climb the corporate ladder, and that was what was success to me. As I looked at leaders in corporate, what was a success were leaders in the CEO position, C-suite, any C-suite position. So that's where I put my sights. So I grew very quickly, climbed the ladder very quickly. I would work very hard. And I realized that every position I got into, I created processes and procedures that made it easy for me because I wanted to do a really good job, right? And I excelled from most of my peers because of that. Now, I don't think I learned that skill anywhere specific other than growing up. I learned that you need to do really, really good, be very, very loyal so you wouldn't get fired. Because I watched my dad get fired and I was like, no way am I going to get fired, right? So that, I would say, was a humble beginning. I was not handed anything. I worked for every dollar I ever earned. I never was entitled or felt entitled or acted entitled. I was very grateful for any raise I got, any position I moved into. And I think that I was very lucky to have fallen into a business advisor type position or in early 2000s, around that 2001, 2002 timeline. And I just grew and I learned and I grew and I learned, and I had mentorships throughout this growth. And what I loved about that was they taught me how to be a leader. The owners that I worked with, that I helped start their businesses, I was in startups. So I started over 300 businesses in a span of about 20 years or so. And I realized that entrepreneurship wasn't as ugly as I thought I had portrayed it to be. I was actually really happy with watching these entrepreneurs start from nothing and grow these amazing businesses and turn around and sell them for a big value. So I thought, maybe entrepreneurship is for me. And then when I started my personal journey of personal development, that was about 2016. That's when I realized that there was so much more out there. There was so much more to me and what I was capable of. Because before, I just think it was hidden and I didn't have the belief because of my humble beginnings. I didn't have the belief that I could do it. But then I started developing well, what if I could? What if I could be a success? If I'm a success in corporate America, and I'm empowering all of these business owners to be successful and I know how to do it, why couldn't I do it myself? So that was when I had made the plan to leave corporate America. It took a while. I had to pass off a lot by the time I had left corporate America, but it was a very mixed emotional day. When I left corporate America, I was excited for my new beginnings, a little fearful of what was to come, but and I was saddened to let go of a chapter, in my life of corporate employment. But I was excited for the future ahead.
Beautiful. I love
Yeah.
it. I think our family background, our family stories
Mm.
we always ended up giving us a realization whether we want to end it up the same way or we want to get out of that. It's the same journey as mine because I just felt that I want to make I want to have a life that's so different that you don't want to live in a life full of scarcity mindset. And just like what you said, when I started diving into personal development, that's where I realized, oh my God, all of those limiting beliefs that I have,
Mm.
I thought will not be able to make it possible. But then when you, of course, there's so many transitions, there's so many evolution, there's so many transformation that you also have to let go many people, right? You have to let go that comfort or convenience or those stories that led you to where you are at that time. But just like you, I felt that there's a need to make a change. And of course, I think in entrepreneurial world, it's not an easy, and I always hear about it, and I do believe that entrepreneur is not for everyone. And since we're talking about entrepreneurs and you know that we are on the same field, though you have really so long or so far experience when it comes to coaching or advising people and entrepreneurs and business and strategies, Colleen, when it comes to building a successful business or businesses, and I'm super curious, what will be the most important part you think that coaches, solo entrepreneur or solo entrepreneurs, small business owners must focus on first? Would that be marketing? Would that be pricing? Would that be building a strong offer? And based on your experience, what you have seen also with a lot of your clients, would there be any specific area that given with attention, given with a dedication and consistency, that leads to steady growth for success? What's your take on that for the best results?
Unfortunately, it's not one of the things you mentioned, which
All
most
right.
people think it is. But I'm glad that you said that because this is something I really want to dive into. And it's the reason why I'm hired, usually 1,000% of the time. There's no business structure in the business, zero. So someone has this great idea that they're really good at something, or they were employed in corporate America. I'll use myself as an example.
Yeah.
Business advising and consulting and coaching, right?
Yeah.
All three of those things I did very well and was very well paid in corporate America for those things. That does not mean that because I was really good at doing those in a business that already had a structure, that already has operating CEOs, CFOs, IT departments, marketing departments, accounting departments, that I then am qualified to step outside of corporate America, take my credibility with me, all my knowledge that I know, and now I can go do that in the world as my own entity. That's what most people think, that I can just lean on my skill set. That's kind of the biggest mirage of an owner. So they say, I'm really good at this, so I'm just going to go out and get clients. Well, most people don't hire a company or an individual based on that alone. Okay, just based on merit alone. There needs to be structure to your business. There has to be processes and systems. I am a processes and systems queen. And the only reason why I know I am is because every business I've ever built or helped another business owner build was built on those first. Yes. And I am grateful for corporate America because they taught me that. In my position, it was crucial that every business follow processes and procedures and that we had them set up so you could duplicate. If you are reinventing the wheel every time, if you are doing everything in your business manually, my 8 hours in a day and your 8 hours in a day are going to look very different because your 8 hours in a day are going to be spent about 80% on doing tasks and maybe 20% on producing. income. My 80% of my day is going to be producing income, and 20% of my day is going to be focused on tasks. That's the difference in why I'm able to create more income. So then I can hire a team that can help me duplicate my hours so I can continue growing and scaling. The only way, and those are two different things, by the way. Growth and scaling are two different things. Growing is increasing your revenue, growing your business this way. So think about it like growth this way in the amount of clients you have or the amount of businesses you serve. Scaling is very different. When you're scaling, you're going upward mobility. So that has to do with building a team as you build your structure. So if you do not have a solid foundation on who you are, what your credibility is, what you solve, who your person is, like the type of business or avatar that you're looking for, everything you said, your offer, your marketing, all of that is created off of that foundation and create a business structure. Everything you need from an LLC or some type of entity to a bank account to an EIN number. You understand how to pay taxes. You have books that you're using, your flow of income in and out. You're not crossing personal credit cards, personal money. You are actually running this like a business and not a hobby. That's the very first thing. And most of the time, or all of the time, women hire me because they just come out of corporate America or they start a business. They usually are coming out of corporate America. They're about a year in. They can't figure out why they can't get any clients. They literally have no structure in place on how to even onboard a client. They just kind of go off of, okay, now we're going to work together and maybe I've created a link or you've PayPal'd me money. Like they have no idea how to create a lead, how to capture a lead, how to convert a lead, how to create a sales process, how to enroll someone, onboard someone, how to do follow-up, how to any of that. And that is crucial. You cannot start creating income unless you have some type of structure, no matter what it is. Even if it's an Amazon store, if you don't know how to process someone through a buying, your product through follow-up of actually them getting their product, you're screwed. So I would say that is the number one thing that most people, and I worked with a lot of women in the past 7 years, women especially, they skip that step. So there's just zero. I mean, it's like you're constantly, as the wind blows, you're constantly trying to put the sticks back up, right? And not me. I'm like mortar and brick. That's how I'm building this structure. That thing's never fallen down. And then you actually have a structure that's valuable to another person who wants to occupy the space, which means you can sell it at some point and someone else can move in. You're not the one that has to stay in the space. Yep.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. While I'm listening to you, Colleen, because I came from operational background, so I know the step by step. I'm a very systematic person. So I have to understand every single step when entering this business or entrepreneur in coaching industry. And can I say safe to say, especially for those in the beginning of their journey, especially when they're not able to, borrow money or they don't have sponsors or investors, can I safe to say that they have to understand the processes, basically every single step, like what you just said, creating that lead, how to capture more clients. And the other thing is that also, I think what a lot of people missed is that going through your personal journey first. What are those things about you that you can sell, that you're great about, that, people, I think the other thing is that you don't have a space to ask yourself more questions about what you can really sell, what you are good about. So tell me about that more.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question because I have probably on a regular basis made the joke that I'm the type of person that will hold on with one finger and build a plane while I'm flying it, right? That means in order to get the plane up in the air, there has to be enough built. right? It's got to have the wings. It's got to have the engine. It's got to have someone in the cockpit, right? So I say that lightly because I see so many people in business that they ready, aim, 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 and they just stay there. My website's not done yet. I don't have this done yet. I don't have that done yet. I don't have this done yet. I like to tell those individuals that you do not have to have everything perfect to get your first client. As long as you've built, and I call it the back end structure well enough. I have launched plenty of businesses without even a website, okay, by personal invitation. So it doesn't have to look pretty or be fabulous or have all the bells and whistles, because sometimes you don't have the money to invest in it to have all the bells and whistles to start. You build that as you're growing with your income. So there's caution for you not to stay in aim mode. You've got to fire at some point. You've got to pull the trigger. And when you pull the trigger, then the secret is to let everybody know about you, everyone know what you do and why you're different. I can sit in a room with 40 other business consultants, business coaches, and everyone, if they know who I am, they know exactly who I serve and how I'm different. They know that I am always going to focus on business structure. I'm always going to focus on where the breakdown in the business structure is, what's not working, where the missed clarity is on what's happening and why no one can relate to you and why they're not throwing their money at you. Once we know that and we fix it, then I can help anyone generate income pretty quickly. So most people hire me because they don't have that structure and they're not generating the income they want to generate and they can't figure out why. And usually from an outside view, it looks very different than the inside view. And, we can't see everything in our businesses. And I had someone today give me advice in one of my businesses. And I was like, why did I not see that this entire time? And I'm a business advisor. I consult people on business scene, but I needed someone else from the outside looking in to tell me that. So I would say those are the things that are preventing entrepreneurs from really gaining the momentum. And here's the other thing we have to remember, especially if you're in the type of business that is service-based. I'm not talking product. I'm talking strictly service-based. If you're in a service-based business, it is imperative that you grow relationships, you build bridges, you meet people, you care about those people that you meet, that you get out there and that you serve. When you do that, people start noticing you. It is how I have built every business I've ever built, and it's how I'm continuing to build our 2 family businesses that I've now stepped into, because we haven't had that personal type of touch because nobody in the business has had time to do it. And it's like, okay, now Colleen's going to step in and do her thing. And that thing is building relationships and getting out there and telling people how much you appreciate them that's a client of yours, and doing client appreciation parties and reaching out to clients and saying, thank you for being a customer for 5 years. All these things these little touch points, I call them, that we forget to do, creates loyalty. And then when anyone needs your type of service, because we're talking service-based, you're the first person anyone's going to recommend or refer. So it's like this machine that's built because of your service and because of your kindness and because that you care, that it's like this you become this machine, and all of this is built. And before you know it, you just get to reap the benefits. Again, it just becomes this circle where you don't have to do what we were raised and taught, which is work hard. Work hard. That's the only way to earn money, is work hard. Money doesn't grow on trees. I'm like, well, in my world, it does. And I'm not going to get out there and feel like it's working hard. I'm going to get out and serve. I'm going to go out and get to meet people. I'm going to go out and be humble and grateful and be honored to be in rooms with people and get to know them. And that's what I do for a living. Are you kidding me? And I get paid for that? That's not hard.
Yeah. Well,
Not hard.
I love you saying all of these things that actually relate to how you sell, how you market yourself. And of course, I can understand the entire things that you have mentioned about service-based businesses, because in coaching or in consulting, all of these things that we do, it really requires the personal touch, like what you said. And I'm super curious because there are a lot of things that you have mentioned earlier that I think really worth to break it down. So first is that the presence of our service and ourselves, and in the world that we're living, whereby social media is a hype as well, right? And I'm super curious with this question. Which one is most important to focus on? Is it both, or is it the social media building that strong presence, or personal relationships? So, we are talking about not only for coaches, but, for other entrepreneurs as well, whereby you have products. Because some people would say that they feel confident with one over another, the face-to-face relationships, or relying more on online marketing because they're a little bit introvert. So help us understand which one is best, or is it to balance it to help our business or businesses thriving?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it depends on the type of business you're in. So I'm going to start with one of my businesses is a catering business. We're in the service business, right? We're only local in Arizona. Everything that we do is online. I could not network local to grow that business. It just doesn't make sense. I am catering to brides. I am catering to businesses with events. Could I market to local businesses? Sure, but they're not our main market. Our 90% of our market are brides. Well, where are they? They're on Instagram. So we play in Instagram. We stay on Instagram. We go to bridal shows and spend our money for a weekend at bridal shows. I do not waste my time locally networking in groups for that business. I'm online on The Knot and the Wedding Wire. So it makes sense in that type of service to be where the brides are. So if that's a good example of a service-based business where all we do is play online and we're not face-to-face with anyone. Rarely. Yeah, you have friends that own businesses and people in your neighborhood get to know you and they might hire you here or there. But honestly, that's not how you couldn't grow a business off of that. You grow a business off of being on Instagram and being on The Knot and Wedding Wire. Okay. So that's just an example. Now, coaches. You've got to be out in front of people. That's number one. You've got to be networking online or networking out in the community. You need to be doing one-on-ones because that's how you meet people. It's how you refer individuals to them. It's how you stay top of mind. It's how you stay connected. Number two, I 100% believe that you need to find out where your type of demographic is. If you are a coach and you work with executive leaders, why are you hanging out on Instagram? Why are you hanging out on Facebook? You should be on LinkedIn and LinkedIn only. That's your number one place. Me, I find that some of my clients are on LinkedIn, but the majority of them are on Facebook. So I happen to like Instagram. It's my favorite platform. So since Instagram and Facebook play together so well, I post everything on Instagram and then it flows through to Facebook the same time I post it on Instagram. It just duplicates itself onto Facebook. So everyone who is a Facebook user, which are my main customers for advising, business advising, they're seeing all of my stuff. And I have groups on there on Facebook and places. You mentioned the Empower and Elevate conferences. I have a private Facebook group just for the attendees of all the conferences to communicate and talk to one another and promote each other and themselves in that group. So I stay active in that group, right? You can't just create a group and then never go in there again and think all of these people that are coming to my group are going to hire me. No, they're not. You get back what you give. So if you're on social media giving nothing, you get zero back. I am on social media every single day. And there was a time when I fought it and was like, I hate social media. Now I use it so people get a peek into my life. Here's what happens, Cindy. They get to know my grandkids. They get to know my husband. They get to know my children. They get to know my community, where I live, how I serve, the type of food I eat, what my house looks like, where I spend my days. They get to see things I'm promoting, events I have coming up. I throw everything through Instagram. And I kind of open up my door to allow people to get to know me. When people get to know you, they start trusting you. They get curious about you. They're like, I see her everywhere. She's so awesome. I'm going to her next event. And then before you know it, they meet another 20 people at that event now that have been in my circle for a long time. Those 20 people are telling them like, oh, Colleen's the best. You have to meet her. Of course you need to work with her. Let me tell you what she did for my business. And then before you know it, you just got a customer because they saw you everywhere. They decided like, I got to go to this because everyone I know, I keep hearing her name, right? And then they show up. And I'm just being honest. That's how I built my entire community online. It's how I built my Empower and Elevate conferences for value. It's how I built my consulting firm. And it's exactly how I'll continue to build the other business that we have, the drone business. So I know exactly what I need to do in the catering business. I knew exactly what I needed to do in my consulting firm. And I eliminated all of the self-limiting thoughts by educating myself, surrounding myself with positive people, meeting with people one-on-one, building my confidence, doing all the personal work I needed to do. I prayed. I did everything I needed to do to continue pushing forward, even though those small, like, things from childhood kept coming back, like, well, your dad failed, you're going to fail too. Well, if you're not good enough, no one's going to hire you. Yeah. You got to work hard for your money. You're not working hard enough. And it's like, I can't work any harder. I'm already working hard. And I just decided one day, I spent a life in survival. That's just how I was raised. I swear my family was surviving just every day. And so I decided this surviving was like this badge of honor. And I was so proud of surviving that bosses would tell me like, you're a survivor. And then I heard someone on a podcast say thriving.
Yes.
And I was like, what's thriving? I had never really heard that word, or maybe that moment I needed to hear it from that person. She talked about the difference of thriving versus surviving. And I was like, I want that.
Yes.
And then I just got it in my mindset. I was like, I am going to do and pay attention that if I get into surviving mode, I'm going to switch my mindset back to thriving mode. And I just focused on thriving. And eventually that survival thing just went away. It became like this thing that I didn't want to be part of. It was like in the dark where thriving was in the light. And I just wanted to be there. And thriving has everything to do with how you treat other people. Everything to do with how you treat other people. When you're in survival mode, you feel alone a lot.
Yeah.
But when you're thriving, you're always surrounded by amazing people. Yeah. And so that's what I would say every entrepreneur needs to strive for. Every company out there you ever worked for had probably 10 to hundreds, if not thousands of employees. How do you think they built it to that level? They didn't do it alone. They didn't do it by themselves. They did it with banks. They did it with relationships. They did it with funding. They did it with people. They did it with others' ideas, others' discipline, your discipline. So I don't know why entrepreneurs think like it's just me. I got to get out there and do it all myself. And that's great, but you'll never grow and you'll certainly never scale ever. Yeah.
I think what I'm hearing from what you're saying, and I am totally with you with the word thriving. Well, obviously, that's how I ask you in the business to keep thriving. I think it goes to really, that's why the personal development and spiritual growth, very, very fundamental part of entering in this level of uncertainty, because entrepreneur is uncertain. It's a seasonal. You can't really guess 100% every day that you'll get some profit or income. That's the reason why I believe that self-limiting beliefs, we have to work on that pretty hard, so that anything that will limit us, for example, going back to the marketing, I'm hearing this a lot, that I'm not good at marketing. And I always say, which we talked about that before, and I would say, that's a BS.
Yeah.
It's your limiting beliefs that telling you that you're not good at it. And guess what? Because you keep on believing on that narrative, then your brain, your mind will keep on confirming that you're not good at marketing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why anyone would say that. Early in my life, I remember I used to say, "I'm clumsy. I'm so clumsy." I'd knock over a cup on the table. "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm so clumsy." And then I realized that you're manifesting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if I constantly say I'm clumsy, I'm clumsy. I would trip over everything. I would knock everything over. And then I asked my husband to kind of go on this journey with me. And I said, if you hear me say something negative about myself, or that I'm clumsy, or you've got to correct me. And I do the same for him. If he says, "Oh, that was stupid. You're so stupid." I'm like, "No, you're not stupid. You made a mistake. You forgot something, but you're not stupid. So don't tell yourself you're stupid ever, or you're just going to continue making that same mistake, because it's how we program our brain to react. So if you want to program your brain in a different file, you have to do something different. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over again. So that is definitely a scary place to be. I have a friend who's going through a divorce. I have friends who are having hard times in business. And I always tell them, no matter it's personal or business, I was taught by a pastor at a funeral. I listened very closely, and they said, for all of you in the audience, you're all grieving, or you wouldn't be here because it's a friend of yours. And they said, now is not the time to draw the shades, shut the windows, shut the shades, and close the front door, because we cannot go through this alone. Now is the time to invite others in, be in others' company, and work through your grief together. And I think as owners of businesses, we grieve. I just grieved letting go of businesses that I built, even though most people outside looking in would say, wow, you should be so proud that you built a business of value that another resident could move into. And it's like, you say that, but that's not how I feel inside. Right? And so I believe as entrepreneurs, we need to remember that businesses have ebbs and flows. There's never like this, ever. Stock market doesn't do that. Nothing does that. Nothing. There's always ebbs and flows. And when you are in those down periods, you have to be surrounded by good, strong people that can help empower and elevate you.
Yeah. And that goes actually to the mindset and growth, where you mentioned that multiple times, the limiting beliefs where we all stuck into and still believing in working hard. And you mentioned about work smart, right? And I thought to really dive into this conversation, the work smart, because I do believe that there's still a lot of people have a misunderstanding of this principle, work smart. So in your own experience, and I do believe that your belief on work smart has also evolved, what is your personal opinion or understanding with this principle? And, you know, how can you help us understand more? What does really work smart mean, especially if you're in this journey of entrepreneurial world?
Yeah, I'm going to break it down super simple. Just because you can learn how to do it or you can do it doesn't mean it's your responsibility and you should be the one doing it. I could learn Canva. I could take classes. I could sit and work on it. I could figure it out. It would take hours. That would be someone who leads with knowledge, right? They want to know it. They want to figure it out. Me? No way. I can hire someone that is a Canva master that can create better than I could ever imagine, because my brain doesn't work in images and graphics. They could create something 10 times better than I could ever come up with, and in less time. That's working smarter.
Hey, beautiful souls, quick message. If you're looking for support on your personal or professional journey, whether it's through coaching, singing, or speaking at your next event, I'm here to support you all the way to rediscover your authentic voice, empower your life, and be unstoppable. Let's connect and see how we can work together. Schedule a call with me. Now, if you would love to sponsor our Empower Your Life show with yours truly, we would be thrilled to partner with you. Simply reach out or contact us at contact@cindymarie.net, or the link is available in the description below. Thank you so much for listening. Now let's go back to the episode.
Just because you could learn it or do it doesn't mean it's your responsibility. Your responsibility is the vision of the company. Your responsibility is to get out there to generate the income, especially if you're a coach, right? Don't think that you can go hire a sales team that can take care of generating all of your income for you. It doesn't work that way. But when you realize these are the things that I do really well, these are the things that I shine at, these are the things that move the needle forward in the business, you need to have other people do the other things. And that's working smarter, not harder. You just because, and I will have 100 people combat me on this and come up with all the reasons why they can't do that. And I tell them BS, and I call BS on it every time, because you can hire someone on any of the platforms out there, Fiverr, Upwork, any of those. When I first wrote my first book, I had no idea how to have something created in KDP format. I didn't even know what the word was or what it meant. I just figured you wrote it out on Word and then somehow it gets into a book format, and I had no idea how to do it. So someone helped me find someone that they had used in the past. I got recommendations, and they said, I've used this person in the past. It cost me like $50 to have someone edit, do all this formatting, and have it ready for me to upload. I could not pay that bill fast enough. I was like, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. It would have taken me weeks, and I was in agony thinking, like, how am I ever going to learn how to do this? That is not what we do well. And when you sit in seats on a bus, I'm going to say, in things that you do not do well, you fail. I use it as an example. You came out of a position in corporate America that you thrived in, that you did amazing in, that you got awards. Maybe you got, promoted. If they would have moved me, let's say, to IT, they would have fired me. Absolutely, 100%. I will not thrive in an IT position. I don't like code. I don't understand code. I have no idea how to do it. And I'm not a behind the scenes, never talk to people, sit in your office and write code all day kind of person. I would shrivel up and die. It just isn't going to happen. So I know what I do really well, and we need to make sure, if you're the one on the stages speaking and you're the one out there talking to people, and that's how you grow your business, then you need to get other people. I don't care if you just kind of piecemeal it out for a while until you generate enough income to have someone working with you regularly. That's how I started. That's what you have to do to grow. I could never have started a magazine if I didn't have someone that could format it, build it, edit it. All I did was collect the stories and do all the articles and send it all. And then they magically put together this beautiful magazine. I would never know how to do that. And so I was so happy to pay whatever the cost was for that every time a magazine was published. So I think we need to remember, just because you're an entrepreneur doesn't mean, like other people say, you have to wear every hat. You just gave up a 40-hour work week for an 80-hour work week. I think that's BS. I don't work 40 hours a week, and I own many businesses and participate in a lot of networking, and I don't work 40 hours a week. I work less than that. So I say, what are you doing with your time? I'm 80% productive and 20% task driven. So if you're 80% task driven and 20% productivity, your business will fail.
Well, can you break down the productivity and task driven?
Yeah. Yeah. So I really think the productivity piece comes to what are the things that you're doing that are working you toward your goals? Your income goals, your business goals for growth, your personal development goals. When you are doing those things that are moving you closer to those three goals, right? The business goals that you have in your business could be structure, could be growth, your income goals, and your personal development goals could be spiritual goals. Whatever those are, if you are doing things that are moving you toward that needle every day, that's productivity. And along with that, you're generating income because of them. The things that are tasks that do not generate income is like creating a PowerPoint on Canva. You have someone else do it for you. I have my team do all the things like, hey, I'm going to be speaking at the Small Business Expo in September. I need you to go in and create this PowerPoint for me, and then I'll put in all the pieces that I need to add. But I need you to create the biggest piece, right? The everything from scratch. I also need you to create a handout based on these 4 principles. So create it with all my colors and my brand and all my stuff, right? They know what they're doing because they've worked with me for so long. I'm not going to sit and try and create that. Where I move the needle forward is when I show up and I present, when I'm talking with their team and arranging, when I need to be there. Those things are moving me forward and creating a relationship with the individual who now, because I created such a great relationship with them, taking pictures with them, I touch base with them throughout the year. That's for me to do. Now they invite me back every single year, just without fail. So that has secured me a spot doing that every single year, which puts me in front of hundreds of people every year without having to really lift a finger. And my team takes care of all of the tasks that are not going to create any income for me. Those are just the pretty things that you present and the handout that you hand out. They do not make you money. Me being prepared to present and building that relationship with the coordinators is what makes me money.
I love it.
That makes
Thank
sense?
you. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for breaking it down, because the reason why I ask you to break it down, I think, at least in my experience and observations in the coaching community, especially now the coaching is becoming trendy. There are a lot of on demand as well. And a lot of people tend to just jump on it without really understanding what's the productivity and tasks driven. Because the title itself, it sounds nice, right? Once you have built that position. And I think entrepreneurial itself, it requires a lot of work of understanding what works for you. Because given an example that I can understand that there are a lot of people when they are saying, I don't have enough money, I would say that's also a BS because you can spend some out of money, but where you put your money actually becoming more on, I experienced this when someone I coach, spending a lot of money for building for YouTube and all of that. When I say, well, why do you create that when you yourself, you don't have a strong brand? People don't know you yet and you are already creating this. And so I think there's so many place or room to discuss this, maybe in another episode, because I think it's very imperative to discuss further and deeper what is entrepreneurial world really means, especially when you are in service-based industry. But since we're ticking with our time, moving forward to leadership and your impact, Colleen, if there's one specific skill that coaches or entrepreneurs often overlook, but absolutely need to master, what would that be?
Listening. They don't listen. They don't listen enough. They jump in with a client feeling like they just have to cram everything down their throats and teach. And if you listen and meet someone where they're at, you could learn a lot about what their needs are, because most of the time what they really need is not what they say they need.
Yes.
So it's definitely the skill of listening.
Yes, and that's what we do. We have to share what they need, what they want, not what they want to hear. And it's not
Yeah,
easy to accept.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so to elevate a little bit of our energy to optimism, I'm not sure whether you're an optimist person because a lot of people that I have interviewed, sometimes they would say that I'm not actually an optimist. So I'm guessing that you might be an optimist. Then help me understand, how do you keep yourself optimistic and what keeps you elevated every day and balancing in your life, if there's balance at all. But if you're not an optimist, how do you keep yourself moving forward, moving that needle towards your goals, your desires, and having everything on track? So, are you an optimist or not? But yeah,
Oh, 1,000%. I'm an optimist. That
awesome.
glass is always half full. If you do not lead your life every single day through gratitude, then you're missing out because your focus is on everything that you're not doing. Your focus is on everything that didn't get done, on all of the things that you don't have. So I am 100% an optimist. And I use gratitude practices to really help me continue practicing being an optimist. And I think that is number one thing crucial for all of us out there. I mean, like I said, there are ebbs and flows. There is no constant in any business, service, or product base for an entrepreneur. You're going to have great times, and even the hardest times of your life and the times where you feel like you lose that optimism could be in your biggest growth periods. Most people think that's all I'm waiting for. It's the big growth, that high ticket client. And then when it happens, they feel so overwhelmed. They're just full of negativity and they're like, oh, but I got this and I got that. It's like, but that's what you wanted. This was the big payday you asked for. And then now it just presents a whole bunch of other problems that they didn't realize that they were going to have. Right. So I would say everyone needs to be optimistic. So if you need to hire a mentor, a coach, be in a community that supports that optimism, you have got to have that positivity moving forward in your business every day. I could not imagine feeling negative, leading with negativity, feeling that the world is out to get me. I'm never going to get a client because that person is always going to choose the other person, and that's not fair. I didn't get a chance to do that, or I got picked last in line. I could go on and on with all of the things that create that negativity. And I have watched entrepreneurs lead with that. And I'm just like, now I know why you can't make a dime. Now I know why you don't have any clients, because they let that overtake them. No one is going to hire you because that energy is like some of the lowest energy that vibrates. And wherever you're vibrating in your energy, so you and I have very high energy. We're very positive people. So our energy is much higher, and people feel that.
Yes.
You know, they feel it when you walk in a room. They feel it when you're online with them. They feel it when they meet you in a grocery store. So we attract people, places, things, and events at that level. If you're vibrating at a very low, negative, everyone's out to get me, woe is me, you attract people just like that. People, places, things, and events on that exact same wavelength. It is true, whether you believe it or not. That's why those people say, I can never get a break.
Well,
that's what they say constantly. They can't, because they got to raise their vibration. They need to be hanging out and shedding some layers, and they need to evolve into a positive person. So if you're not positive and you struggle with that, and we all go up and down on this, we have bad days.
Yeah.
You've got to surround yourself and have tools that allow you to raise that. Have to have tools for that. Yeah.
Amen to that. Gratitude is crucial, I think.
Number one.
In the world we're living right now, and there's a constant comparison, I think gratitude, slowing things down if whenever possible with life that we're living. Thank you for sharing that, and very, very crucial for many people watching and listening to keep yourself optimistic, especially if you're in an entrepreneurial world, whether you're in the beginning, in the middle, or you're already having multiple businesses, and yet you're also having that struggles because of your, your mindset, the energy that we attract. And
Yeah.
I'm super sure that many of our audience watching or listening right now would love to know more of what you offer online or offline. So, where or how they can connect with you. What's the best place to connect with you, Colleen?
Yeah, so I'm going to say one, website's always great, right? You're going to learn everything about me on my website. You can connect with me directly, set up a call with me if you wanted to talk with me. So if that's your thing and you like to do websites, then ColleenBiggs.net is the place. If you love social media and you just want to kind of check someone out from afar, then Instagram, Colleen Jane Biggs is the number one place to find me. So I would find me on Instagram, find me on Facebook. You can certainly go to LinkedIn and find me at Colleen Biggs there. I'm Colleen Biggs everywhere. You could even Google my name and you're going to learn so much about me because I've spent years growing my search engine optimization so that people could find me wherever they, wanted to look me up, even if it was just something as general as ChatGPT or Google. They know who I am.
Awesome. And don't worry, because for many people watching or listening right now, the information will be available on our website once the episode is available. Now, thank you so much, first of all, Colleen, for this amazing conversation that we had. Amazing. So many things that I believe we can still, discuss deeper and deeper and deeper. And I guess going to be another episode. But before I let you go, Colleen, there's one last question I have for you. With everything that moving on so quickly around us in the world we're living, where we are so focused on material success, how do you stay connected with your purpose while still creating that positive impact for your clients, for the businesses that you have? What are those things that you can recommend or suggest or advise for people to stay focused on what truly matters?
First of all, the environment, politics, presidents, everything around us is always going to change. Always going to change. Look back in history. It's always going to evolve and change. You cannot control that. So don't try. You're fighting an uphill battle. So I would focus on what you're doing. And I have two things that connect me to my purpose, and that's God. And that's my why. And when you know your why so deep of why you exist, why you do what you do, why you're called to do what you do, the people in your life that matter for why you do what you do, which for me is my family, then there is no greater purpose than that. So between my family and God, those are the two things that drive me every day.
I love that. Thank you so much for that message. And thank you so much, Colleen, for this opportunity. For everyone watching or listening on this episode, if you find this episode super, 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 super valuable and helpful, well, better make sure to hit that forward or share button so we could help other peoples as well empower their lives. Until next time, with yours truly, Cindy Marie, here to empower your life. Thank you so much, Colleen.
You're so welcome. I loved today's conversation. It was so great, Cindy. You're amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today on Empower Your Life with Cindy Marie. I hope you found this conversation with Colleen Biggs as insightful and inspiring as I did. We explored some of the most underrated strategies for coaches and entrepreneurs, and I hope you walk away with ideas to take your business and mindset to the next level. If you enjoyed this episode, share your thoughts with us, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and share it to people who could benefit from it. Follow our podcast and leave a review. It helps us reach more people like you who are ready to empower their lives. Until next time, remember that no matter how fast the world moves, stay true to your purpose and keep creating meaningful impact. Stay optimistic, stay curious, and don't forget to have fun. Keep believing in yourself. You've got what it takes to pursue your dreams and make a positive impact. Keep going and be unstoppable.